Hello, welcome back. Today I'll be discussing power line modulation, otherwise known as power line communication. It's a method of sending data via the electrical system in your house over the copper wiring. Specifically, it's typically done as the AC frequency crosses over the 0 point. When you have more than one system that's trying to use this method of communication, you can get a lot of problems. It comes under the category of unexpected consequences when you start stacking systems on top of systems. The first thing that I installed, going back to I think 2012, was this Insteon home automation system. It's not that long ago, although at the time there wasn't a lot of choices, or at least not that I found that met the requirements that I had set. And I'm not really a gadget guy, so I didn't do home automation so much because it was cool or it was nifty or it was gimmicky. I actually had a need. We don't have a huge house, but we had several outdoor fountains, and you've got your landscaping lights, and you've got evening interior lights or other lights on the outside that you want to turn on and off. We had a series of timers, and honestly, they were a major pain in the rear end. So I ended up going with the Insteon system. It's considered it's a dual band system. It uses the power line modulation, and it also has a wireless component to it as well. In any case, the way it works is there's a programmable logic controller that is in the IT closet. As you can see the menu here, there's several devices on it. We've got a weather forecast. I've got my backyard landscape lights, sprinklers. The fountains are on it. The second system to get installed was this TED 5000 energy monitor. TED standing for the Energy Detective. It's got two sets of CTs. This is the main set. It's on the main poles coming in and out. Today we're producing more electricity than we're using. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon, so we're doing pretty good bright sunshine. The other set of CTs is on the sub panel. It's on a separate measuring transmitting unit, and of course it uses power line communication to send the signal out so that we can view it on this web page. And the third system to get installed was this N-phase system. This is an 11-panel array solar system with microinverters. Each panel has its own microinverter, and it communicates as well via PLM PLC to the Envoy, and then the Envoy communicates to the internet so that we have this online portal. See, again, it's been a little bit cloudy, so the solar's been up and down today. Here's a shot of energy produced today. These two panels are on the east side garden shack. I covered that in an earlier video. These are pointing just about due south. These are on a different tool shed on the west side. These are pointed due south. This array here is pointed west. So during the day, usually you don't get as much energy in the beginning, but by the end of the day, these west-facing panels tend to pick up the load, and the total amount of energy produced is about the same from this array as it is on the main array that's all facing south. It just happens later in the day. So I'm going to grab the camera and run around and take a shot of each of the systems, where they're hooked up, and how the line filtering works to keep each system isolated. And here's the IT shelf. Do have an uninterruptible power supply on a blue receptacle out there. There's the Frontier modem. It's the Honeywell Red Link for the thermostat. And this is the ISY 994i. This is the programmable logic controller that runs the Insteon home automation system. This is the communication port for the Tesla solar system, and kind of a defunct Archon Vision DVR. Oh, by the way, Archon Vision sucks. Don't use them. And the ISY communicates via an RJ45 cable down to the serial modem device, as they call it, and it injects the PLM signal onto this particular circuit. I guess it's 21. And for a little bit of context, here's the batteries, main panel, Schneider inverter, comm box. Of course, we have a surge suppressor and an Insteon device here, dual port receptacle, and this is the TAD energy monitoring system. This is the TED 5000 junction box with the cover off. There's two devices in the bottom. They call them the MTUs, the measuring transmitting devices. They're powered up from the right hand side of this TDK line filter. I have 240 volts coming in. It filters and isolates the Insteon system to the left hand side. On the right hand side, we're taking a power tap off there, energizing the measuring transmitting units, and also energizing this receptacle that runs the TED transmitting device, and the communication signal is transmitted via the RJ45 up to the switch, and that's how we're viewing it on the web page. And lastly, worth a quick mention, this is an Insteon phase bridge. If you remember, the signal is being injected for the home automation inside on circuit number 21, but that's a 120 volt circuit, so it's only the one leg. In order to get the signal throughout the whole house, you need to share the signal with the Insteon phase bridge. That way you connect both legs together and you can get full communication to every circuit in the house, outdoors, and so forth. Not sure if it's helpful. Just for a little bit of perspective, this is a storage shed on the east side. Previously discussed it in the solar video. And then also inside is a Champion generator that we did the natural gas conversion on previously. Unfortunately, there's not much room in here. This is the 50 amp sub panel. And this is the combiner box. There's 11 panels on this N-phase system, and they're divided up into 3 areas. And it's also using power line modulation to communicate via the cord up to the N-phase envoy, which is plugged into a, you can't see it, but it's a RJ45 to Wi-Fi adapter, since I got an old model that didn't have Wi-Fi built in. I don't feel like spending $400 to correct that, so this was a pretty simple solution. This is a multi-tap transformer, 12 and 24 volts output, and it runs the I/O controller for the Insteon system, as you can see, for the landscape light, sprinklers, and the waterfall. And this is not in use. This is a battery charger that I rigged up for the other generator that was in here that did have electric start, and it was basically just a trickle charger that ran off the multi-tap transformer. And the receptacles with the Insteon power line modulator, power for the 8-port I/O controller. This goes up to the multi-tap transformer, and this is for the RJ45 to Wi-Fi adapter. And inside the N-phase combiner box, again, I'm not making any claims that this is clean and neat, but it works just fine. And the TDK line filter is kind of buried back in there, but you can see it. It's rated for 20 amps, so it's sized properly for the circuit. The way it works is that the red leg on the N-phase side is tied into the receptacle, so the power line modulation signal can go right up to the N-phase envoy. but it's blocked from passing through into the sub panel so it doesn't interfere with the Insteon signals that control the rest of the house. And I'll close this video out with a quick shot of the backyard. One of the things that I appreciate about the Insteon home automation system is it's allowed me to integrate everything into one complete system. So there's not a bunch of separate timers, you know, like a pool timer or a pool control system for the waterfall or landscape lighting transformer timers and all of that. The Insteon system is really cool in that not only can you set the turn on, turn off times, it allows you to index everything to sunset or sunrise. And then that way, as the time changes, as the sun angles change, everything just keeps in sync. In fact, using the climate module, I've got it set up to where if the cloud covers more than 50%, the interior lights turn on sooner than if the cloud cover is less than 50%. So overall, it's pretty slick. This waterfall at that flow rate, that's like 200 watts. I'm using a variable frequency drive Pentair pump. It's 1.5 horsepower. I think it's turning at about 1450 RPM. They're super efficient. A little pricey at about $800 or $900, but this thing will run all day at 200 watts. Makes a nice background feature. Doesn't use a lot of energy. That's the way to go.